Well, Tom Rose is from Wyoming Liberty Group, and he and I were having a little bit of a brainstorming session. So besides your regular Wyoming Liberty Group session, we decided to go ahead and brainstorm. Now, let me go ahead and set them up real quick, Tom. I was, some years ago, a few years back, I was watching the Senate in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I was up there in the gallery. And one senator from Campbell County, I believe, stood up and said, we got this ranch up there, way up almost to the Montana border. It's one of the oldest ranches in Wyoming. It's a beautiful spread. All of the buildings, including the barns and so on, are made of stone because if you look at the buttes around it, which are big buttes, there's stone all over them. Place is stunning, but it was abandoned a long time ago. It's just sitting there. Should the state buy it? Well, we don't know what we're going to do with it, and they bought it, which irritated the hell out of me. You don't just use taxpayer money and buy something like that and not know what you're going to do with it. So then they said, well, make it a tourist attraction. And my thought was, well, what for? Why would tourists go there? I mean, to get there, Tom, I took a trip because the county decided to send a bunch of us out there to take a look at the place before it was mothballed because the state doesn't have the money to fix it up right now. And we had to drive over an hour north, and then we got off the paved road onto a gravel road, and off of that onto a smaller dirt road, and then finally onto a two-rut road. And it was most of the way on those dirt roads, it was 10 miles at about 20 miles an hour, and we were all in school buses to go out and see the place. While out there, Tom, I had an idea of what to do with the place. Forget tourism. You have been working for years to rescue young people from just heading down the wrong path in life. And I thought, what if Wyoming were to change this into like a boys ranch, like the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch, and start mentoring young people? Now, you seem to think that was a good idea?
I think it's an outstanding idea, although I did want to mention a few things about the ranch.
Okay.
Historically, were you aware that Kendrick, John B. Kendrick, who owned it, was the governor of Wyoming?
I did, yeah. So I do understand that there are some people.
It has great historical value, but the thing that's interesting about Kendrick is that he was born in Texas with nothing. Yeah. So it's a classic rags to riches sort of Western tale, which would, I think, lend another sort of facet of flavor to having kids out there that are at risk or disadvantaged, and would be participating sort of in his legacy.
Well, and I understand the governor lived there and all of that.
There was an expectation that he might actually run for president.
I understand that a governor lived there and all of that, but I still see no historic value because nothing ever happened there. It was a ranch.
Well, it is. I think the historic value would be more relevant to a kid that was out there that was working on it than it would be to a tourist.
In that, I think you're right. In your rags to riches story, to tell kids
because it's an inspiration.
Yeah.
It's a concrete sort of monument to a man's ability to do that. They say he had a 5th grade education formally, maybe 4th grade.
Yeah. But he built himself all the way up to that, huh? Shows you can go anywhere if you apply yourself.
That's exactly right.
Great idea.
Exactly.
All right. So now you sit on a council, I guess, with the governor and a few other people. What's that group you get with?
I am on the State Advisory Council for Juvenile Justice.
Okay.
And I haven't, because we just spoke of this fairly recently, I've got to sort of apologize to your listeners. I haven't done my usual level of research on this, but I have spoken to a number of people around the state about it, and I can't find anybody who doesn't think it's a pretty good idea.
Okay. Hey, you know something? I might have done something right for once. Wow.
I think it's really good. Actually, I sort of wanted to. I was speaking to somebody who I cannot quote for various different reasons, but I'm at the annual bar convention, so you could kind of guess.
Yeah.
It's somebody who's here, and he said, "That's actually a really interesting idea." He said, "We used to be well known in Wyoming for being a state that showed a lot of common sense. Sometimes it seems to me that we've lost our way."
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that this was sort of a good common sense approach. And to turn it into a working ranch, then you have kids that are learning a skill. They're taking care of livestock, which is a great life lesson because livestock cannot feed themselves. They are dependent on you. And it's a regular scheduled operation that you do rain or shine, no matter what. It instills a fantastic work ethic. And ultimately, what we're looking for in a juvenile program like this, what success looks like is a kid that doesn't come in contact with the law again, ever, over the course of their lives. They become a productive member of society and voters, obviously.
Sure. Well, in handing over responsibility to a young man and saying, I trust you with this, is huge to, let's say, a young teenager, almost a rite of passage, and helps them become a responsible adult. But so far in Wyoming, I mean, there's you helping people, but I don't see a whole lot of that in Wyoming, which I've been disappointed with. So to have a place where we can send these young people, and let's face it, they can't get into trouble. I mean, the nearest town is how far away? Oh, dear God, they're out in the middle of nowhere.
They are most certainly insulated from anything.
Yeah.
And that will be one of the, both a benefit as well as a challenge in terms of trying to get this to happen. And I've been thinking about it. It doesn't have any electricity out there right now.
Right.
And I've been thinking there may be no reason to have electricity out there.
Sure.
Perhaps that should be just part of the experience, is having to live a life in 1900s technology.
Yeah. So where do you go from here then? How do you make this happen?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
And that's part of the research that I have not done on this. It being Wyoming and we being a small town with a long main street, I've started talking to people about it.
Right.
There is awareness of the ranch peripherally. People sort of I believe, was it 2012? Is that when the legislature?
I think that was it. Yeah, I believe so.
Does that sound like about right? Yeah. So there is sort of a collective memory around it, and people are aware of it. And the fact that the walls of the buildings are 18 inches thick of quarried locally sandstone is so dramatic that people all sort of remember what the buildings look like as well.
It's actually in very good shape because when we were touring the place, the floors are in outstanding condition. The walls, a nuclear blast wouldn't tear down those walls. You do have to worry, of course, old ceilings get old and leak. But that's the boys can come and fix up that. You're going to get a chance to talk to the governor about it?
I don't know.
Okay. If you do, on the first phone call you make after you talk to him.
Well, I have sort of been mentally running through it as a scenario, and I don't think there is anybody who could work on a project like that wouldn't derive a certain amount of pride from it. Right. And it would be a monument to everybody who had ever worked on it, restoring it, any of the boys that were ever there, anybody who ever rode for that ranch.
Yeah.
One of the questions I have actually is, who has the brand? I would assume that the brand is LX Bar.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And that would be certainly a place to start.
What kind of young men would you be looking for to put in there? I mean, these people that were going to go into juvenile detention centers or something like that?
That was my thought.
Yeah.
There is sort of so we have as a sort of the highest, most secure incarceration in the state for juvenile, the Wyoming Boys and Girls School. And there is sort of the prosecutors have told me that they run into kids periodically who they look at and they say, I really think this kid's on the way to either the boys or the girls' school. They are already veterans of other different sort of lighter containment things like group homes that they've been running away from or something like that. They're still not able to live at home with their parents. They're a problem. They're a problem in school. So something, kids along that level that aren't ready for the hardest of the hardcore discipline that our legal system has to offer for a kid and could be turned around by this kind of thing.
Okay. Where do people find your work? I have just a few seconds left.
Wyoming Liberty Group, which is ywliberty.org.
Okay. We'll keep updating people
and I'm
as
a contract
this
writer
grows.
and researcher for YLib.
Okay.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for coming on. I do appreciate it.